Tonight, we have exclusive details on the lengths to which Russia is going to undermine freedom in the Western Hemisphere and democracy in Venezuela. Take a look. New exclusive documents here obtained through sources connected to the state-owned oil company in Venezuela, PDVSA, showing us that Russia is actively enabling the brutal socialist dictatorship of Nicolas Maduro with the aid of a global company that maintains operations in Houston, Texas. This is a direct violation of U.S. sanctions, and sources tell me Russia's state-run oil company, Rosneft, is buying up Maduro's heavy crude oil and exchanging it for gasoline and diesel. You see, Venezuela can't refine this stuff because they've never invested in the technology. So they may have all this oil, but they don't have the things that they need in the way of diesel and gasoline. So according to my sources and documents we've obtained detailing the shipping routes, this exchange is being done through a company with American ties. I'm looking at the records right now, right here. I mean, basically, all of this shows you, for example, what the vessel is, what the port is, what the product is, what the quantity is, what the supplier is, and what the ETA is, or when it was shipped. Pretty detailed stuff. All the shipments going in and out of Venezuela. For an American company to have any connection to this, well, that's just illegal. Or a company, I should say, that may not be American, but has American operations. Because there are sanctions. You can't do this. But Russia's very active. Here tonight, the man that discovered these oil shipments, the man who was unceremoniously fired from his executive job at PDVSA back in 2002 by none other than Hugo Chavez on live national television. Take a look.
Está despedido también. Muchas gracias por su servicio. Señor Juan Fernández está despedido de Petróleos de Venezuela. Offside. Offside. No, están...
Okay. That's one way to get fired, via whistle. Well, that very man who was fired, Juan Fernandez, by his president on live television, is now living in exile here in the United States of America. And he joins me tonight. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Trish. I appreciate your
That's quite a flashback.
efforts. Yeah, to having me here tonight. So.
I want to get to your personal story in a few minutes because it's really pretty remarkable. And, you know, that had to be pretty surreal what went down there in Venezuela. But first of all, sir, talk to me about these trades that you have found. What does it tell you about the relationship between Russia and Venezuela? And what does it tell you, sir, about Russia's goals?
Yeah, well, as you know, there are, in place sanctions to Petróleos de Venezuela, PDVSA. I know there is everybody's anxious to see how we are going to see Maduro out of Miraflores, and everybody's looking, for things that they are doing. At the moment, we know that the pressure that the government in Venezuela, the dictatorship in Venezuela is having is very high. They have a problem.
Partly high because you see Juan Guaido, right, in the streets, marching with the people day after day, going and calling on them, and the people want to take their country back. So that's the kind of pressure from the people themselves that we're seeing. And actually, we can show you some of that as well, just for the viewer.
Yes, and besides that, what you are talking about Juan Guaido presence in Venezuela and all this effort that he's doing, for people to be aware that the change is coming. Also, the sanctions are another medicine that Maduro is taking. Why?
Sure.
Because...
But let's get to Russia. Forgive me, because we don't have a ton of time.
That's right.
Yeah, there's the video. So, people are fed up. But what is Russia specifically doing? When I see shipments, basically, the Rosneft is supplying Venezuela with gasoline, 410,000 barrels. This is a supply that was delivered on March 6th. What does that tell you?
Well, let me say the following. First, as you know, the production of crude oil in Venezuela is going down. The refineries in Venezuela are not working. They used to buy gasoline from the Gulf Coast.
No, I know. We know. They have no gasoline.
No.
So Russia's doing it?
So now they are using Rosneft as the vehicle to buy gasoline in the open market. So for that purposes, they are using traders too, that they know that the gasoline that Rosneft is buying is for Venezuela. So if you are in this business and you know about what is happening in Venezuela, especially traders companies, which also they have businesses in the U.S., they will know that these shipments are going to Venezuela. And
so
Venezuela
you've seen some
PDVSA.
companies, Juan, that are international trading companies that are working with Rosneft, and they're actually, they still have locations here in the United States, and yet they're engaging in this. That's
right. So the thing is that you are not innocent of what Rosneft is doing. So I think that a warning from the U.S. government will be very useful in order to put pressure on these companies, as we see last week when the government of President Trump said to the cargo companies and the ship owners, listen, we are looking at what you are doing with the cargoes to Cuba. So it's the same thing that I believe is going to be done in the case of these companies, the traders that are in the market, just selling and buying.
Any that you want to cite?
Pardon me?
Any particular companies you want to cite?
Well, there are several companies. One of the companies that we know is doing businesses with Rosneft is Vitol. Another company that used to do business with Rosneft is Trafigura. There are, several companies doing businesses.
And they have operations in the United States as well.
And also they have, obviously, operations and affiliates doing business in the U.S. So I think that is very important.
What good are sanctions if we're not going to enforce them? So maybe this is a wake-up call for Treasury to say, okay, you know what? You're not going to be able to run that trading operation there in Houston, Texas, if you're going to continue to engage in this kind of stuff. Juan, before I let you go, just very briefly, I know you went through very difficult times and really, hell with between Chavez and then Maduro. You've had to live all over the world. You're now in the United States in exile. What is your hope right now for your country?
Well, together with me are 20,000 people that were fired from PDVSA, the company that we're very proud of working there. PDVSA was the #2 company around the world in the oil business.
Can it get back to that?
Yeah, and I think what we are looking for is this window of opportunity that Mr. Guaidó, the president, is giving to us, and to recover the oil industry in Venezuela. We are going to invite the private sector to come in, and I think that is a challenge that everybody in the oil industry, people will have in the near future for Venezuela.
There's a lot that has to happen, I would imagine, between now and then the private sector coming in, but clearly the potential is there, and I wish you all the luck. Juan, very good to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing your story.